Praise the living God. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The teacher of why? Oh, Reverend Jablon is okay, Memorial College. And then all the teaching staff present here from different schools. Our dear parents, invited guests in your own capacity. Our students, you are our students. It is that you are coming from South Sudan, but you are part of us. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it is important for us to have this time to reflect. We need to take this time for reflection. When I was in Juba in the year 2008, I was so excited with what I saw in Juba. In 2016, I was working for UNDP in Imoyo, handling cross-border peace and security. I interacted a lot with the people in South Sudan. This is my second time where I am officiating a function like this. The first time was in 2020 in Gulu district, where we had over 2,000 South Sudanese celebrating this kind of day. Friends, we are all children of God. It is just by colonial mistakes. That's why you call yourself a Sudanese and I call myself a Ugandan. We were all one people, one black people, from Egypt up to South Africa, from Mombasa up to Congo. We were all one people. But when people who think on behalf of other people came and sat on a table, then they decided to divide us. They said, this one belongs to me. Another one said, this belongs to me. You read it in history, the partition of Africa. We were chopped like a piece of bread and given to other countries. In Uganda, Acholi of Uganda and Acholi of South Sudan are one people. Same ethnic background, same language, same culture, same practice. But in 1914, Captain H. Kelly divided us. I said, you are the Acholi of Sudan and we are Acholi of Uganda. The question I want to ask, who threw us into that water? Who threw us into that water? There is a story of a king who had a very beautiful girl and was looking for a man to marry the daughter. And the daughter said for her, she wants a courageous man. Someone who can protect her. And that chief, the king, made a big dam. And in that dam, he put their crocodiles. Then he lined up handsome men, those who volunteered to marry that girl, and said, you be on the other side, for us we shall be on this side. Whoever will swim across this small pond infested with crocodile will be the one to take my daughter. And the boys were busy rehearsing that I will be the one to take this girl. But all of a sudden, they realized somebody was already in the water. Boom! And the man swam very fast and crossed. Now, when he crossed, the king was clapping and said, you are very courageous. But you know what the boy said? He said, first of all, let me know who pushed me into the water. Let me know who pushed me into the water. The guy was pushed. But he survived. Who pushed us into this water? Today is a time for reflection, and it's also a time for us to strategize. How best can we, who are Africans, we who are in Sudan and in northern Uganda, can work together and attain peace like any other part of the world? I am not going to make mistake of just speaking of hate. Last time I did it, and the minister asked me, can I have a copy of your speech? I had nothing. So as I grow old, I'm also now trying to learn to write my speech, so that when a minister asks me, I can give. When the head teacher asks me, I can give a copy. Friends and the children of God who are present here, today we are commemorating the 14th birth of a nation of South Sudan. It was on July, a day like this, 9th, 2011. That was when South Sudan gained independence and became the newest. When we were in primary, we used to call the latest, the newest, the youngest. So it became the newest country in the world. And our first president was Salva Kiir Mayardit, who was sworn in as the first president of South Sudan. This was not independence from white colonizers. We were not getting independence from the British. We were not getting independence from the France. We were getting independence from oppression from within. Independence from an independent country. We were in Sudan, but again, we were supposed to get independent. And that's the independence we are celebrating today. And on the 14th of July, 2011, South Sudan joined the United Nations, gaining international recognition as a sovereign state. So when we are here, we are celebrating our sovereignty as an independent state. We are recognized by UN. We are recognized internationally. Why? How did the whole thing start? That's why I said, let's have time for reflection. Let's go a little bit backward. Our struggle was actually to be free from oppression. The people of the Southerners were highly oppressed by the regime from 1955 up to the year 2005. Three reasons. We were under one country where we were divided because of our colors. We were divided because of our identity. We were called animist. We were called backward. And few people were controlling the country. So, while we were in Sudan, there was establishment of a monolithic Arab and Islamic state. Young as you were, you might have not known. We were one country with Sudan, as South Sudanese. But there were people, again, within Sudan who said they all hold the power. They are the only one. And for you to live there, you must listen to them, obey them, and yet they were the minority. So since January 1st, 1956, that is the time Sudan got independence, what we call the Khartoum. And there were several attempts to Arabize and Islamize the whole country. They wanted everybody who was living in the bigger Sudan to become a black Arab. And they wanted everybody to become a Muslim. Outside your choice, it would have been out of one's freedom to choose the religion he or she wants to belong to. And you cannot make me to become a black Arab. And that's one of the reasons why our ancestors in South Sudan pick up arms to gain liberty for their people. The second reason was the monopoly of political power by minority clique in Khartoum. Just like I told you, very few people were the one controlling all the resources in South Sudan. I mean the whole of Sudan. Well aware that Sudan, being labeled as the richest country with oil, 75% of the oil in Sudan was found in Southern Sudan. The richest part, but the richer people were suffering in the hands of the poor people. The poor grabbed everything, became rich, and subjected us, the Southerners, to be poor people. Thirdly, economic marginalization. People who are in the North, we need to reflect, because people who are in the North, they were all the key positions, all the finance were in their hands. The Southerners had nothing. That is what prompted our people to say, no, we want to bring an end to this kind of suffering, to this kind of slavery of our people. And God was with them, because they were fighting for a just cause. The struggle in South Sudan can be divided into two phases. The first phase of the struggle was from 1955 to the year 1972. A terrible struggle. We all well know that when we got independent, it was on August 18, 1995, when the soldiers who were in what we call Equatorial Corps, a military unit, composed mainly of the Southerners, they rioted. They refused the order from the people who are very powerful. And they were in Torit. They said, we cannot accept. And you know the right of the soldiers is called mutiny. So there was a mutiny. They refused to surrender. So they escaped with their weapons, went to the villages, and started fighting for their own freedom. That was the first time struggle started in Southern Sudan. Now this rebel group were so powerful until when Joseph Lagu joined them on the 4th of June 1963. Lagu was a soldier. He had to abandon being in the government soldiers and then joined the rebellion. He fought very successfully and he started international connection. He went to Israel. That was the first time when Israel started supporting the cause of the Southerners. Israel started giving weapons to our brothers who are in Southern Sudan, and the weapons were coming from Uganda. Dr. Apolomito Robore gave them the leeway. And then the president of Ethiopia gave them leeway. So guns were going into Southern Sudan so that Southerners can fight for their independence. It is important we remember such prominent people like Joseph Lagu and many others that were also mentioned along the way. In 1972, the Sudanese president, the Greater Sudan, Jafar Mohammed Al-Numeri, and Joseph Lagu, leader of the Anyanya. Many of you might have heard of Anyanya. These are the people who fought for our freedom. The independence we talk about today was started by these people. So when Lagu and Numeri signed a peace agreement in Ethiopia in 1972, there was a period of peace, what we call a period of lull. 11 years, Southern Sudan was a bit peaceful. But what happened was that Numeri, again, came up and wanted everybody to follow Sharia law in Sudan. When they came to Sharia law, that's when the Southerners said, no, you cannot subject us by force to follow this law. As a result, that is where you see the second phase started. We started from 1983 up to 2011, if I have to say. But it stopped in 2005. Because 2005, when Garang signed peace agreement, there was peace until 2011. So, Colonel John Garang formed the SPLA in 1983. Garang was a soldier in what we call Sudan People's Armed Forces. He left that peace and came when there was a riot. Then he said, no, I must join our people and fight with them. Peace be to John Garang. He struggled. When he fought, John Garang came and joined these people and launched a successful attack and succeeded to put enough pressure. However, the SPLA got divided into 3 big groups. The first group was called SPLA Torit faction. This faction was led by none other than John Garang himself, who was a colonel in the army. The second group of the SPLA was in Barahel Gazelle. Barahel Gazelle is where we are told we came from. Our original home. The last home we stayed and moved on to where we are today was Barahel Gazelle. And from Barahel Gazelle, the faction was led by Sarabino Kwany Bol. He was the one who commanded. Then the Southern Sudan Independence Movement was another faction, was led by Dr. Riek Machar. So we had the 3 factions who put enough pressure on the government of South Sudan until in 2002, when Colonel John Garang Dimabio began peace talk with the Southern Sudanese president Omar al-Hassan Ahmed al-Bashir. When they had the peace talk finally was signed, what we call the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, on January 9th in the year 2005. I wanted you young people to have time to reflect the struggle of our elders. They struggle for you and for me, so that we have, when Uganda is not in peace, for us to run to Sudan. During Amiz's regime, we were all in Sudan. And our firstborn did his military academy, military study, from Sudan, at Omdurman, Said Wedina. You know that military academy? That's where our firstborn did his cadet training. And our people went and stayed in Sudan. Even the soap we were getting for washing our clothes was coming from Sudan. We used to call it Nimeri. We were buying it from Sudan. So we need peace in Southern Sudan, just like we need peace in Northern Uganda and in Uganda in general. Unfortunately, on a side note, on July 30th, the year 2005, Colonel John Garang Dimabio, when he was made the president, he served the vice president of Sudan. He served only for 6 months and died in an helicopter crash. He was made the vice president out of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, but he served only for 6 months. I had the privilege to meet John Garang when I was in Gulu, because when he came to meet the Southern Sudanese, I was made the master of ceremony. So I attended the function, I shook his hand, and I'm the happiest man on earth because I touched the hand of John Garang. Many of you have heard about him, but you did not see him. And when we saw him, everybody was jumping. The dancing was just jumping out with joy. Everybody was excited. The children of God, on July 9, 2011, South Sudan gained independence. With Salva Kiir Mayardit as the president, with Dr. Riek Machar as vice president of the Republic of South Sudan. This made South Sudan to become the 54th country in Africa. We are a country in Africa. There were only 53 countries in Africa. But with South Sudan getting independent, we now have 54 countries in Africa. And there were only 92 countries in the world. But we are now 193 because South Sudan gained independence. Friends and the children of God, we know very well that after independence, in 2013, we started experiencing ethnic clashes amidst ourselves. We started clashes amidst ourselves. And as a result, in 2017, the government of South Sudan and 9 rebel factions, which were mediated by the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, what we call IGAD, and the AOU, African Union, and then Troika, they signed a new agreement for cessation of hostilities so that we stop fighting. This war did a lot of suffering in South Sudan than elsewhere. And this has been the longest war ever in the history of the world. There's nowhere in the world where people have suffered more than the people of South Sudan. If you go to any international conferences and you find where there's displaying photographs, if you don't find a photograph of a Sudanese, then you find a photograph of a northerner from Uganda, either suffering from luch. So we are specialists in suffering. We have been identified as suffering race. We can change this. You, the young people of today, you can change the world. Today we are celebrating Ibrahim Traore. One man, a young man at the age of 34, became the president. He has changed the whole world, and the whole world is looking at him as a superstar. One man. How many are you there? Even God, when God wanted to transform the world, he normally started with one person. When he wanted to form the nation of Israel, he picked only Abraham and ordered him to leave his ancestral home to go to the land he promised. Abraham went. One man, Abraham. When the Israelites were also suffering, like South Sudanese are suffering, God picked one man to liberate them. Moses. Moses became the liberator. One man. One man. Even when we are falling short of God's glory, when God should have burned all of us, but God did not call a committee. God did not send angel. He picked his only son, who came in a human body, like you and me, to liberate the world from the sin of the world. You are the hope. You are the hope of the people who have suffered for long. The war in South Sudan claimed the lives of more than 2.5 million lives. The war in South Sudan left the area totally devastated. The war in South Sudan left the region impoverished, very poor, and yet very rich. If you have 75% of the oil deposit in your land, why are we poor? Knowledge. Please, I call upon you, take advantage of your being in school and grab the knowledge, and you'll use it to bring permanent peace in South Sudan. You are here being prepared like Moses when he was with Jethro. When Moses was with the Pharaoh in the palace, God was preparing him because he was taking him back to Pharaoh to negotiate for the Israelites to leave. And when God took Moses into the wilderness, God was preparing Moses so that he will lead the people for 40 years in that wilderness. You are here, God is preparing you to go back and transform Southern Sudan. It is only through you where we shall have permanent peace. It is only through you, with your education, that you will cause change in South Sudan. That's when you will not be robbed of the wealth you have in South Sudan. That's when you will not remain poor with all the oil that we have in South Sudan, with all the fertile land that we have in South Sudan. If you take up your education seriously. The world are controlled only by two categories of people. Those who are educated and those who are educated and are doing business. If you are educated, the world is under your control. But when you are an illiterate person, you are a food to anybody and to anything in the world. Nobody respects somebody without knowledge. Nobody can control the world without knowledge. Japan is a very poor country. They don't have oil like we have in South Sudan. But they have the knowledge. The radios you have are from Japan. The vehicles you see running are from Japan. What did they use? They use the knowledge. They don't have resources. Look at Congo. Congo is the richest country in Africa with all the minerals they have. But what is happening? It is a state where lootocracy, looting. Everybody in the world is looting Congo. Right from the time of King Leopold, they are looting Congo. Leopold alone killed 10 million Congolese because he won their wealth. So if we are not educated and we are not knowledgeable, the world will finish us. The world is no longer merciful. You must have the right knowledge, which is from God. If you have knowledge minus God in it, it is as if you are just a clever devil. You need God in the knowledge you are obtaining from wherever school you are in. If you don't have God in that knowledge, that's when you come with the terminology of thieves. But they don't want to be called thieves. They'll tell you the money has been misappropriated. Yes, you have stolen. That the money has been embezzled. You have stolen. That's a language of the devil. So your turn is today. The only asset you have with you is the time when you're in school to study and be successful. Sudanese are never dull people. Is there any Sudanese who is dull? Is there any Sudanese who is dull? Never. Never. Why don't you take advantage when you are here to study with the hope of going home to transform the place? Because we have suffered a lot. The challenges we have today in Southern Sudan is that today we are commemorating the 14th South Sudan independence, where South Sudanese are living in IDP camps. South Sudanese are in exiles. And South Sudanese are in diaspora. And yet we say we have independence. There is independence in South Sudan, but without unity, without peace and tranquility. We talk about South Sudan having independence, and yet the Arabs were oppressing us, but now we are oppressing our own selves. Arabs are no longer there. We ourselves are oppressing ourselves. It is you who can cause this change. The Arabs were making us poor, but now we are impoverizing ourselves. The minority Arabs in the north were dominating and marginalizing Southerners, but now Southerners are marginalizing fellow Southerners. Southerners took arms and fought for the freedom and liberty, but have now forgotten the purpose of their struggle and are fighting each other. Southerners who struggled for 56 years and destroyed their common enemy are now using all forms to destroy each other. You can cause this change. You, the young one, you are our hope. You are our hope. When you are here, be serious. Life is not for jokers. I come from near the national park. Near the national park, when you pretend to be lazy and you want to rest, the vultures will come and check whether you're already dead. No resting when you are in this world. If you try to sleep, even the hyena will come and taste you with their hot feces to check whether you are alive. So never ever give up. This is a struggle where all of us must struggle. Let us not the spirit of our liberators, the spirit of our heroes and heroines who died in the struggle remain restless because they don't see the fruits for what they died for. They died for a purpose, but they are no longer seeing the fruits. Millions of South Sudanese are in exile, running away from fellow South Sudanese, not Arabs this time. Why did these people die? If fellow South Sudanese cannot come together and talk together and work together for peace. Millions of South Sudanese are internally displaced person camps amidst hundreds and thousands of soldiers fighting each other instead of keeping its citizens from foreign aggression. The soldiers who should be keeping us are busy fighting each other. And yet their work should be to protect our territorial integrity so that no any foreigners invade us. But instead, we are fighting each other. Millions of South Sudanese are starving amidst rich, fertile land and untapped labor force of our youth. People are starving, no food, and yet we have the most fertile land, as it has been sung to us here. And the youth have the energy, but they are not using the land. Millions of South Sudanese are living in abject poverty amidst abundant income from oil. I want to keep on reminding you, South Sudan, if you bring the entire Sudan together in South Sudan, 75% of the oil deposit is in South Sudan. The most fertile land, there are lands in South Sudan that has never been cultivated to stay there in South Sudan. But why are we starving? Why are we poor? I call upon you, South Sudanese, to unite and work as a team. Unless we accept to unite and work as a team, there's no future for us. If we still go blaming one another, there's no future for us. Let's have this ability to work together for a common goal. Let us support ourselves, support one another. Let's strive for a common goal and see that we succeed. Weakness. They may think you're weak. Weakness is strength. When you use your weakness correctly, it is a strength in itself. In America, during the Montgomery Improvement Association, you know the black in America were also being oppressed by the people who deceive us that they are white. Do you know that there are people who deceive us that they are white? You are put on white t-shirts. You let those people put on the white and see whether they are white. They're not. But because when you have a liar who tells you lies repeatedly, their lies begin to sound like truth. And they have told us they are white, and we call them white. And yet they are not white. There was a poor boy who entered the bus, a black man, because he has these sinuses. You know, this is flu. He was not allowed to sit in any seat in the bus. Each time he entered the bus, he was being pushed here and there, here and there. Then one day, he used his brain. And he said, the bus seats are all going to be mine. So when they enter the bus, they want to push him. You know what he did? He just held his nose, blew it, and put it in the hands, and went to greet people. People were running behind, going behind the bus. And all the seats were his. And he made everybody to be behind because nobody wanted to be touched with that mucus. He used his weakness to become a strength. Use your brain. The time of using strength is no more. In actually, we have a saying, use your brain. This is the time to use the brain. You have seen how technology has changed war in the world. These days, they fight using computer. Not this idea where you carry 67 kilogram with all this AK-47, star pistol, what, and you move. It is no longer there. They have guided bullets. They take your DNA, they make a bullet that will just go and shoot you alone. The brain. The brain. Use your brain. Stop thinking of anything else, but take advantage of your being here and make sure that you succeed. But the greatest thing you need to do is unity. Look at our teeth. Our teeth, we have different types. I'm told the front one is called incisor. Am I right? I done it in the primary. I've now taken long without going to primary. They call it incisor. Then there's another one that looks like that of the dogs. Huh? They call it a canine, right? And they say they use it for tearing. Then there's another one immediately after that one, they call it premolar. I'm told it's used for breaking bones. Those of you like eating more meats. Those are for breaking. Then the last one there, I'm told they are called molars. And their work is just to grind. But these different types of teeth, they work in unison. When they cut, they take it, when they started breaking, and they find that they need to tear it, they bring it back, they tear it, then they throw it back, they grind it, and they show it. Work is done. And okay, people never care. They see that you are well, they can't know what here. And that's why we are suffering, because we are not united. When we are united, we are going to succeed. Let's get united, work as a team, and we are going to succeed. Friends, I don't want to take your time, because one time in a mosque, a mufti was busy preaching. A mufti was busy preaching. And people were escaping one by one. One by one. One by one. And you know what happened? Only one person remained. And the mufti said, so you are the only faithful remaining in now the mosque? He said, mufti, you are standing on my mat. Meaning, if he was not standing on the mat, he would have also left. So, as I conclude, I wanted to hear this. Love. 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 Have love for your country, as you sang it here. Have love for one another. When you get a Southern Sudanese, you get a black person, say, you are me and I'm you. Have that love. I want to demonstrate you how true love works. There was a function organized, and they brought two categories of people. Then they were asked, if you love one another, just like you see it is coming, that if you love one another, come on this side. Those of us who don't love each other, go on the other side. So when they went, the organizer brought meat in a saucepan, a huge one called Nwalbe. And then another one, rice in a huge saucepan. Then they said, you who don't love each other, can you begin to eat? But the instruction was there. Nobody should use his or her hands for eating. Everybody was supposed to use spoon. And that spoon is 1 meter long. And they tie it from the elbow straight. So when you want to eat, you must take it first and look to the best piece of meat, scoop it, and then when you want rice, you also do the same. Now, these people did not have love among themselves. They were fighting for the best piece of meat. But before you get it, somebody has already knocked it down. You went for... These people destroyed the whole saucepan of rice and the whole saucepan of meat. They did not taste. Then they said, you who love yourself, come here. Sit round. They were given also one saucepan of meat and one saucepan of rice. They were given the same spoon, right up to under their armpit. They said, can you eat? So you pick the best piece of meat, you put in the mouth of your friend, and your friend also pick the best piece of meat into your mouth. And then when your friend said, I want rice, you scoop this one, and you give it to your friend, and the friend also scoop the rice, give it. And if you said, I want soup, they also scoop the soup, put it to your mouth. These people ate all their food without any dropping. Unless we take it up like that, and we demonstrate our true love in that manner, we shall never have peace. Friends, long live our freedom fighters, right from the time of Lagu, Anyanya 1, Anyanya 2. Long live our heroes and heroines. Long live Dr. John Garang Dimabio. Long live South Sudan. Long live Africa. May God bless South Sudan. May God bless South Sudanese. May God bless you who are here.